2, 1. So today I'm going to show you guys how to build a responsive website. And by responsive, what does that mean? It means that when you build a website, no matter the screen size, your web page adjusts to the screen size. So it could be a monitor, it could be a laptop, it could be a mobile phone, and it could be a tablet. It doesn't matter. And one of the best ways to actually build a website that is responsive is to use a CSS library called Get Bootstrap. I mean, that's the name of the link, but the actual name of the CSS library is called Bootstrap. And Bootstrap was originally created by Twitter. However, it's now open source, and I do believe that the people that maintain the library, they work for GitHub, and it's actually open source. Anyone can update it. So as I said, Bootstrap build responsive mobile first projects on the web with the world's most popular component library. So what exactly is a library? Think of a library as a resource for you to add functionality into your website. So let me show you an example of a responsive website first. This is a website. You can see the link at getbootstrap.com/4.1 examples/album. So this website, you can see it has everything arranged. It's actually pretty much decent. I mean, it lacks graphics and animation. However, just looking at the website, you can actually see that it's a nice website. So if you're trying to picture how this website will look on a mobile phone, you can actually adjust the screen by minimizing it, and if you're to put it on the side, this is an example of a responsive website. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So as you can see, look at this part right here, the navigation. This is how it is on a mobile phone. If you expand it, actually it doesn't. If you expand it, you actually see more information. If you reduce it, but let's just reduce it to a mobile phone. Look at how the columns have actually been cascading to actually adjust to one part of the web, so just not exactly one part of the website, but to actually look better. So over here on the white screen, it displays each box, and for example, it displays each box together. And this is, for example, you have this, you have the box actually, for example, you can see them placed in threes in each column. But if you're to look at this on a mobile phone, this is how it will present itself.
So this is good designed for like the user experience?
Yes. Example, user experience is one of the good issues for a responsive website. Is a good example for a responsive website. And one important thing about building responsive websites is that if you're to build everything from scratch, and from scratch means is that if you're trying to build a website to actually adjust to a mobile phone, to a tablet, to a monitor, to your gaming device, it is really, really hard.
Yeah.
So for you to actually do that, for you to actually build a website that is very responsive, it helps to use libraries, example, Bootstrap, to actually make your website more responsive. So let me just give you an example. Look at this page. It's a plain HTML and CSS page. You can just see all the graphics. You guys pretty much know how this part works, correct? So if you're to look at this website, it's pretty much straightforward. You have your div tags, you have your body. Each body has its own div. Each div has its own sub div. It has its own elements. So how do I make this website? How do I make this website look pretty? One thing I can do is that I can actually go to Bootstrap and I can now take parts of the CSS classes to work. So for example, a documentation, if I'm trying to add a Jumbotron, and a Jumbotron is like a box, which is an example of this, I can easily click Jumbotron text center. And voila, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And why it doesn't work is that for you to actually add these classes, let me expand the screen. For you to actually, this is a CSS class, as you guys both know. This is one class, this is another class. But for you to actually have the functionality of these classes, you have to reference it into your HTML doc. And they have two ways of referencing a doc. They have two ways of referencing a CSS doc. You can either download it and add it to your HTML, or you can actually get it from the internet. So let me show you the easiest way, just a starter pack. This is the link to add it, for you to add it to your HTML.
Website?
Oh, this is getbootstrap.com. So .com. So if I'm to add this particular link to this website, you can see the link. I just copied and pasted it. I will show you the fundamentals later on. And you see this page now. If you're to refresh it, voila. Does that make sense? The only reason why you're seeing this design, this particular part, why it's being centered, is because of I've added this link. So think of this particular aspect as it's a library actually. Think of it as a tool that you have to add to your HTML website for you to actually get the functionality of the website. Like, remember how I was saying that a programming language is like think of it as an alphabet. Yeah. So for you to increase the vocabulary of your website, which is, for you to increase the vocabulary of your website, you have to add books to your knowledge, right? Like if you're trying to read about Shakespeare, you buy a book on Shakespeare. So think of this particular aspect, like think of this as a book. And you're trying to add this Jumbotron and this text center to your vocabulary. So for you to add these things, like think of this as you're trying to quote Shakespeare. For you to quote Shakespeare, you need a book on Shakespeare. And this is what this is right here. It's a link. So if I'm to delete this part right now, actually you guys know how to use comments, right?
Yeah.
So think of if I'm, so let's just, once I remove this book from my web page and I refresh the page, this is how it looks.
Go back to, can you do that again one more time, before and after?
Oh yeah, that's okay, let me do that now. So right now I have the book, you can see it is highlighted. And if I'm to refresh it, I have this now. So the only way this works is that I'm actually adding, I'm actually adding this particular book, which is, I think of it as a library. Let me use the accurate term so you guys start building the vocabulary. And this is actually, you can actually reference this from this particular website. If you're to go to, let me start from the beginning. This is the getbootstrap.com. You go to the documentation and you go to the link. And under the link, you actually see a place for you to copy this. Once you copy the whole thing, actually you can actually click the copy box. When you click on this, copy, it actually copies the whole thing. Then in between your head tags, you actually copy, you paste, and you refresh and you get this. If you, sorry, give me a second. If you comment this out, you get this. Does that make sense? Yeah. So for you to make the website look a bit pretty, you have to add a library to your book, to your website. You have to add a library to your index or HTML page, and that is how you are left with this. So like I was saying, the beauty about Bootstrap is that, let's just say I'm to minimize this website, this web page now. It looks like how a mobile, it looks responsive. Like for example, looking at this right now, you see that it's a bit organized, but let me take this a step further. Let me add more functionality to our website right now. So over here you have a div tag, and you have these elements on a page. And under these elements on the page, you're trying to design the website to actually look nice, and you also want it to be responsive. So between each element, you have the div tag, which is this one. Think of, actually let me just comment this out. So you have this is just a plain div tag. So right now, for you to actually make it responsive, that means that it adjusts to the screen size. You have to add a container. And a container, as the name implies, is pretty much a CSS class for putting a group of functionality into one part so that you can actually organize it as, exactly how you want. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So for example, this is a container. If I'm to refresh the page, this disappears because there's nothing in it. So let me now add things to the container, which is here.
So adding that link in the head made it responsive?
It adds the library to make it responsive. Does that make sense? Like think of this particular link right here, this part. You see this, you're referencing a style sheet, right? And it has to be exactly this way. You're referencing this, but the point of you referencing this is that you're trying to add, okay, think of, you have a library, right? And you're trying to add a book into your library. This is what this link is doing right now. So by adding this link, you're now adding more functionality to your library. And when you have more functionality in your library, you can now use the words in that library. So you know how this part is, you know how to reference an external style sheet, correct? This is the same thing. It's only that this comes from a website, a different website, so you don't have to type in everything.
Okay.
So let me make it a bit, let me make it a bit simpler. So
Every time you make a website responsive, you have to use that link?
yes, I mean they have different ways of actually adding a link. For when you adding the link is the easiest way. However, if you're offline, it means you're not connected to the internet. And if you're not connected to the internet, that means the link won't work because you're offline. So let me just download Bootstrap locally. And for me to download Bootstrap, I have to click on this, download it, show it in the folder. Then I will have to unzip, extract all. Let me just make it simply Bootstrap. And once I have this, I copy. I'm showing you how to add it onto your local machine just so you can see this. I create a website, a link called Bootstrap. Then from that link, I can now copy the folder. Actually, let me reveal it in the Explorer. This is an empty folder. I can copy the CSS and the JavaScript to that particular folder, and I have it here. So let me just delete this part. So you guys know how to reference style sheets. Let me reference Bootstrap so that you can actually understand what I'm doing here. So when you're referencing an external style sheet, you click on style sheet, you add the reference, you add the type, which is CSS. Then over here, because of it's in a different folder, you always have to add the Bootstrap folder, and you add the CSS folder, and the most important file in every Bootstrap is the bootstrap.css, and when you click on it, it gives you this. So if you're to refresh the page, which is this one, you're still going to get the same thing because the only difference I did is that instead of me adding a link, I'm just downloading the information to my folder so I can use it without the internet. Does that make, I mean, it would be a bit confusing, but the more examples you do, the better you understand it.
Okay.
So I will actually make sure you guys actually do this individually so that I can actually show you how it works. So that you can actually see it for yourself how it works. So right now, like I was saying, I actually have a container here. And let me add more functionality. Oh shit. Let me add more functionality. Let me remove the comments over here. And as you can see, I'm going to refresh the page. Remember, this is one big container and everything is put together. So if I'm to refresh this page, I'm actually going to see, notice how it looks a bit organized because I have the container. But let me just remove the container. Let me just remove the container. If I remove the container class and I refresh, it comes to the side. Does that make any sense?
But what if, let's say that you just tab over.
It's not the same.
Did it do the same? But
No, it will not.
It would not do the same.
No, because the thing about a class is that a class is a way of you styling a particular part of a web page. So by adding this container to this part of this web page, by adding a container, the container class to a certain part of the web page, it's only going to style that part of the web page. You get it?
I just, when you just did that, I just realized like I'm more focused on styling.
Okay, yeah.
No, I just realized that like the coding and the program aspect of it is one thing, but I just realized like that's where I have this like
You get your creativity.
the creativity, yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, to be honest, to be honest, one thing is that whenever you're actually creating a web page like this, it makes the best thing you can do before you even code, before you even touch your computer. Sketch it on a piece of paper.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Sketch it on a piece of paper. Like you have a paper, you have a pen, you actually draw it. Like let me give you an example. What can I use? Okay, let me use Paint actually. Let me give you an example. This is Microsoft Paint, right?
Yes.
So I'm trying to build a website and I'm trying to figure out how it will look. So let me just think of this as my
That's what she was doing with us. The human-centered thing.
Yeah.
She was making a sketch of a web page.
Yeah.
But I didn't get that.
I didn't get it. It was more like we had to use a personal gift.
Yeah,
That's what
I
I
didn't get that.
Oh yeah, so let
It
me
would have been better if we were like, you have a customer and the customer wants this type of website instead of a gift.
exactly. So it helps. So actually, let me sketch out what we're going to do first before we actually do it. It actually does make sense that way. Sorry, I should have done that later.
No.
So I'm going to have a column like this. Then I'm going to have a container. I'm going to have two boxes, right? This is box 1. This is box 2. So in box 1, I'm going to have a header so that once people come to my website, they actually know what the website is. And that header, I'm going to call it my first bootstrap page. And under that header, let me add another type of text message. Let me add another. Let me adjust the size. Let me just call it. Let me make it.
We just do ABCs.
Yeah. Resize this responsive page to see the effect. So this is going to be my box 1, right? And so far you can see, if you're to look at box 1, which is this, and you're to also look at this part, you can see. If you're to look at the box 1, which is this part, you can also look at how I've already done this part already. This is box 1, right? So let me show you how I'm going to make box 2 to look like. Over here, my box 2, I want to have 3 boxes all on the same line. And that is called, that is called a row, R-O-W.
All right.
R-O-W. So
Is there a link to the designing of and the terminology of?
Yes, I'm going to share that with you. It's also actually on this website, like the w3schools.com. To be honest, this is not everyone, but if you're doing web development, this is a good website for you to know about. You're definitely going to be using this a lot. You're going to figure out, you might actually ask yourself, oh, how does this image look like? And you can easily do stuff like, why does this keep coming up? You can easily do stuff like searching, and you can search and type stuff like image. And even though if you don't know what you're looking for, actually this gives you the whole Google. Actually no. Even though if you don't know what you're looking for, you can actually just search here and it gives you stuff like HTML images, how to create an HTML grid. It just gives you certain things that you can look at and just get yourself familiar with. But the most important part is that this website is a very good resource for anything you're trying to do from now to the future. And like I said, one thing is that it's important for you to know what to search for as you're learning, and it's important for you to actually know how to search.
Yeah.
So the first part of this, so like I said, let me go back to the boxes. You're going to create, I said you want 3 boxes, 3 columns in one row. So this right here, box 2 is going to consist of a row, alright? And in each row, I want to have 3 columns. I want to have column 1, column 2, and column 3. So you have column 1. Yeah, my writing skill is not the best, but actually column 2 and column 3. So right now, the next part of our web page is going to look like this. So the box 2 has a row, and in each row you have a column 1, column 2, and column 3. So as I said, if you're trying to put things together, you need to put everything under one particular grid.
Right.
So over here, let me do that now. So within a container, you first you have a container to actually adjust the width of your of your box. Then underneath each container, you have a row. And I probably shouldn't have typed this earlier, but I just want to save you guys time with the typing. So
Could
for
you go back up to code? I mean, the code.
which this one?
Yeah, I'm still writing div class.
Okay.
And the div class container, that's the top part that you.
Yeah, the div part is just a way of you putting a bunch of things together. Like I said, it's just for you to adjust the width of the div. So for example, if I'm to remove this class,
Yeah.
you've seen how this is, right? Just look at this part right now. If I'm to refresh it, it
Okay,
goes, actually, sorry, I forgot to add, let me also remove this.
Yeah, that's what it goes.
Yeah,
And it goes all. Yeah.
it goes all the way down.
Okay.
It goes. So that row is more.
Aligning it to a certain dimension.
Got it.
So the first part, like I said, is that you have to add a container. And once I add this container, once I refresh, it comes together. You see
Is
that?
that,
Yeah.
I might have missed something here, but does that containment, once you hit that, once containment is typed in, that's the default line or.
That's like the outer box. That like let's just see. Yeah. So let.
Wrapping something around it.
Yes, yeah, that's
it's
wrapping.
containment,
Yeah, yeah.
Is that the default setting? Can the container be
If you-
another?
If you're using this style sheet,
Yeah,
like this
okay.
library, Bootstrap, that's the default.
That's the default for Bootstrap.
Yeah, that's the default
Okay,
for
that's
Bootstrap.
what it is.
And just like how you have Bootstrap CSS, which is a library, like
Right.
it's for, you also have other libraries that you can actually change.
Got it.
But just looking at it from a high level, container just seems to make more sense because
More pleasing for the eye.
it's more pleasing for the eye, and also the syntax is like, for example, you're trying to pack, you put everything in a box, and you put one box inside another box, you put another box inside another box.
Everything
That-
just gets quarantined off.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
So
So
when you put, so this, what if, what I'm trying to understand is like, what if they don't want to, what if this is not what's wanted? What if there's no, like, right now we're using Bootstrap, we're showing
Yes.
us how to do it with Bootstrap, right? Now, what if we get to a customer and they say, I don't want you to use Bootstrap, I want you to do it this way? How would we know how to do it, how to
That's-
design it?
Isn't that what CSS? Would it be?
Yes, you have to, exactly, yeah, you have to manually CSS it. But the whole idea is that, for example, if you're to look at Bootstrap, let me show you, you know how you, actually, let me just comment this out. Let me show you, let me just remove this library, right, the Bootstrap library, and refresh. This is how a basic HTML looks like, right? So let me tell you, and let me reference this style sheet, which is, let's just say body tags. What is an example? Background color. Let me do light blue, right? I refresh it. You guys get the gist of this, right? So let's just say I'm trying to center a, let me say I'm trying to center a H1 tag, and I call it class header center. I click on text align center, right? I refresh. Oh, sorry. Why isn't this text align? Oh, sorry. I'm supposed to add this. I'm supposed to add this to the H1. Let me remove the bootstrap also. And if I click on class, refresh, this is centered, right?
Yeah.
So let me just tell you why Bootstrap is actually nice. So far we have 2 classes, right? I mean, you know, you're trying to, these 2 classes, all they do is just the background color and the centering, right?
Yeah.
Which is okay, right? But think of, let me show you an example. Name a website that you guys want as an example. No, Facebook, you have to log in, and I don't want to expose anyone's identity. Let me go to Amazon. That works, right? Now, this is Amazon, the biggest website in the biggest e-commerce website in the United States, right? Yeah, today is also Prime Day, shockingly, right?
Prime Day or something like that?
Yeah, yeah. So this is Amazon, and right now, you guys know that we have 2 classes. We have a background, we have the background class, and you also have the center class, right? Now let me show you how many classes we have on Amazon, just looking at it. You have this dark blue is a class, this color is a class, this header is a class, this is a class, this particular, oh, this is a class, this is another class.
The font and the color?
Yeah, they're all classes. I mean, right now this looks like an image. This is actually an image. This carousel is a class. Yeah, it's an image in the link. Well said. This particular button is a class. This prime is a class. This review is a class.
Is it possible for us to just view the code?
Oh, sure. Let me show you an interesting way for you to actually view code in a website. Over here, if you're to right-click on the page and you click Inspect, the console comes out. And right now, if you're to click on the console, you guys are familiar with HTML and CSS. So you see, you guys know how classes work, right? You see, this is a class. 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 These are all classes. These are all classes. And let me see if I can actually show you the CSS. This is actually an interesting thing to know. For you to view, let me think of another simple website. Let me go to Airbnb. Websites are all composed of classes, right? This website has 2 classes, as you guys know.
Right.
You have websites that can have 1,000 classes.
Wait, say that again?
You have websites that can have 1,000 classes. You have websites that can have hundreds of classes. You have websites that can have 20 classes. You have websites that can have 100 classes. The thing is that, long story short, is that you have websites that can have so many classes depending on the look of what you're trying to get at. And if you're on Airbnb, you're also trying to design when you're using classes, you want to be as simple as possible, and you also want to make sure that if somebody is looking at your website on a monitor, on a mobile phone, or a tablet, or a gaming device, it looks nice.
Consistent, nice.
Yes, and for it to look consistent and nice, it helps for you to know how libraries work, which is, an example is Bootstrap. You have Get Bootstrap, you have the Bootstrap library, which is this one that we're looking at, the Bootstrap library. You also have another one called Balmer CSS, which is another lightweight version of making a website look responsive. But long story short is that you just have different libraries for doing different things. Like I said, you can always create yours from scratch, but however, it's like so far you only have 2 classes, and you probably need let's look at Airbnb. Again, if you're trying to look at the CSS of a class, it helps for you to either inspect element, or you can do something called view page source. If you just click on view page source, it takes you to sometimes it's encrypted, sometimes it's not. But this is Airbnb's HTML code, right? You can see, most of these is actually encrypted, but you're trying to look at the source code for HTML and for Airbnb, and this is the HTML. Sometimes it's not they actually minimize it so that people don't steal the look of the code. They also optimize it so it appears fast. But let me see if I can show you the CSS of Airbnb. So this is a CSS file, and if I click on it, this is how the CSS for Airbnb looks like. And right now, so far, I told you that we only have 2 classes here, right? You guys have seen it. Airbnb has how many? Yeah, this is a lot. I don't even know how to count this. I can write a script, but this is a lot.
Yeah.
This is a lot. But the whole idea is that it should not overwhelm you, because they have different ways for you to actually generate this class, or they have ways for you to generate this CSS. But I'm just trying to show you the importance of you using libraries. So let me show you the Bootstrap library. You guys have seen that this is 2 classes, right? Look at the Bootstrap CSS. You have 1, 2, you have the basic ones. You have the body, you have the HR, you have the headers, how they're supposed to look, you have the paragraphs, you have the abbreviations, you have the address. You have a ton of them. This is a lot. Let's just be honest. You have the field sets, you have the legends, you have the progress, you have the search bars. And the whole idea is that you building this from scratch is not a good use of your time. And in all honesty, you're not even going to, I'm not trying to talk down on anybody, but it's going to be time consuming, and you're not going to get it right. So what people do is that they tend to use libraries that are open source, that already have the functionality. So all you're trying to do is just add looks into your website. So Andrew, to answer your question, you were talking about having things that the clients might not want, and you have to build it from scratch, and you're trying, and Bootstrap doesn't satisfy it. If they are building something that you haven't seen on your own, that means you have to start writing classes for you to style whatever you're doing.
Basically work harder.
Not just harder, longer. And in all honesty, it's not going to, it's part of the process. Not as you do more of it, you get better. But for you to actually just do it once and expect for everything to be perfect, no, it doesn't. It doesn't work that way. You're going to run into problems, and it's okay. You're going to struggle, and it's okay. But that's just the process. So Andrew, right? Sorry, I'm not just referring to Andrew, but just the whole class in general. You have this CSS class, right? This is our own CSS class that gives us this. That gives us this, right? You also have another CSS class that's already been pre-built, that already works, that already has certain parts of functionality, and that is called bootstrap.css. We downloaded it from the internet. And compared to the two classes we have now, this bootstrap has, let's just see if we can count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. They have a lot. Like, let's just keep scrolling. These are a lot of classes you have to start coding from your own scratch. You have to, not from your own scratch, but you have to code from scratch. So do you
These
understand?
are already defined
Exactly.
in CSS. So if you're coding right in HTML and you don't use the same classes that are being used in the Bootstrap CSS, wouldn't it confuse? Because then it wouldn't work because they're not matching.
I mean, let me show you. That's actually a good question. But let me show you an interesting way of view. For example, right in Bootstrap, if you're actually one thing you have to know about coding is that you can, with CSS, you can use more than one CSS file. You can use more than one CSS file. So let me give you an example. Over here, we are just, let me remove the CSS class. This is, okay, I added a bootstrap class. Let me just start from the beginning. This right here, oh, I actually have to remove. This is why you should close your div, sorry.
It's past 12 now.
Oh, time for lunch?
Yeah, usually 12 to 1.
Oh, thank you. But let me just start from,
Question.
sorry, give me a
The
step.
website is called getbootstrap.com.
Yes. So right now we have actually ran into an, wait, let me check something. I first bootstrap page.
You have to remove the container. No.
No. Let me show you guys something. I'm over here and I'm trying to figure out where the problem is. I can go to the source code. This is where the problem is. I have this part here, which is an error. You guys see in the source, if I'm to delete this and click enter, it removes it. So the beauty behind this is, actually, let me show you guys. Over here is where I have, this was actually supposed to be a class, but if I'm to refresh this page, now I fix it, but when you're actually, after I teach you guys this, you guys can go on your break, but you have your website and you figure out there's a problem. If you're trying to diagnose the problem much faster, to figure out where it is, right click on your console and click inspect. When you're inspecting an element, you're actually looking at the HTML and the web page itself. Like, you know, HTML gives you this, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to edit certain parts of your website and you're trying to figure out where, for example, let's just say over here, I'm trying to change this part right now, but I just want to figure out how it would look like. I can go to the inspector and I can just edit it like my first bootstrap is going to be awesome. And you see the update I made is now being reflected here. But the thing is that if I'm to refresh the page, it's going to be deleted because it's not in my HTML file. Let me show you guys an example. Like, it's only on my local machine. So let me show you guys an example of how people tend to play pranks online and you think they're geniuses. Actually, let me go to CNN.com. I'm on CNN.com, right? And let me click on a non-controversial topic. Let me click on sports. Hopefully this might work if they're not too protected. So let me say, let me click on this part. Reports Tennessee DL, Brian, blah, blah, blah. Let me just alter this. Yeah, sorry. I'm just trying to show you guys stuff before you go on your break. Actually, this is actually responsive, which is nice. So you see, what exactly is this right now? Where is Ryan? Okay, let me show you guys something interesting. This is a HTML page. Devon, Mesa, may sit out half the year, right? Let me edit this right now. What should I say about Levon, sorry. Jesus, what am I saying? Reports, New York is awesome. This is a website right now. If I'm to click enter, you see what it says on the website?
But now if someone else goes on the website.
They won't see it. Because this is only my local machine. I'm not affecting the actual source of the website. I'm just affecting only my own local machine.
And deliver fake news.
Exactly. But it's funny. That's how people can actually alter stuff. You'll be like, oh, this is actually a website, but all you're doing is that you're only editing stuff you can see on your computer.
Right.
So for example, yeah. So let me show you another example of the beauty
Or
of.
if it's not your computer, it could be the network that your computer is on. Can you affect it that way?
Yeah, but the thing is that you have to be on your network's computer.
Let's say, like, for example, like your computer right there, you have the teacher computer.
Yes.
You have the ability to control all these.
Exactly. That's how
That
it
will
works.
affect, like, if you put that fake news in for
Yeah.
just
Pretty much. It affects it because that's the
it will
source of.
affect, like, let's say I turn on this one, it will.
Affect all of them.
But
because
it's
that's
just, okay, but other than that, it's the local computers do.
Yes.
Resource.
Yeah. So let me show you something interesting again about this. Sorry, one last thing. The beauty of the console is that it makes your edits much faster. So let's just say I'm trying to alter my first bootstrap page, right? I can come to the styling part of the console and click. Let me create styling part. Let me just say color blue. If I click on enter, it changes the color. But it's not on my web page. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's go on a break now, but I'm still going to work on Bootstrap. I'm just also going to show you a faster way for you to actually build CSS on the fly. If you don't want to be going back and forth like this, after you make an update, you now come back here and you now look at how it, and you now refresh it.
So it's better to pick the code in the inspector and then copy it and paste it into the,
Back into your file.
okay.
Yeah. So for example, let me do exactly what you said now. So let me just create, okay, for example, this is my first code. Let me just edit only this part right now. And I'm trying to get instant feedback on how this will look. So let me do font size is, let me say 20px, right? This is also something you might want to test out with. Does this look big? Do you like the size? If you don't like it, you can do 50. You can do 30. You can do 40. Once you figure out how the size is,
Yeah.
like you think is right, you can easily copy this, or just the only part that you actually want from it, which is this. You can go back to your style sheet.
You just helped me figure out how to do my carousel.
Awesome. Glad I can help out to some
Because
degree.
I'm looking at Amazon, and Amazon has a carousel on it, so I'm expecting it, like he's saying to inspect it, and I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
figured it out.
I
You
mean,
gotta size the carousel to the.
Yeah.
yeah, but one thing is that Amazon is that there's a bunch of they tend to protect a lot of their work so that people don't easily copy it. So it might not be that straightforward to copy, but yeah, at least you understand how the style looks and you understand how it works. So actually, why isn't this working? Oh, header center. I need to add the class. Once I refresh the class, I can. Okay, why isn't this working? Oh. Header center, my push. Oh, I have to reference this again. Click on this, refresh, voila. So the beauty behind this is, okay, let me show you another example. I have this right now and I'm trying to change the color. But the thing is that I don't always want to be going back and forth between my index page, which is this. Like I want to be going straight to the code and I want to be going straight to the web page. So over here, I can click on background and if I want it to look pink, no, let me think. On the background color, if I want it to be pink, I can change it. If I want it to be red, I can change it. If I want it to be green, I can change it. So just doing this on its own saves you the time of going back and forth. And with that, we can actually pause recording for a break and